The plea for sight has continued in the prayer of Christians, especially in the East, under the form of the Jesus prayer. But Son of God has taken the expression of the Christian and not Son of David. But the mercy and the attitude of the beggar, that mendicity is the same. And it is also the attitude of the soul in general that comes in its truth. With regard to light, we need in the first instance to recognize that we are actually deficient in sight. And the more we think we know, the more short-sighted we are. There is a link between this feast and that of, in general, culture. For culture is linked with the quest for knowledge and truth and beauty. And therefore we need to have the humility that we come into a humanity which has been there a long time already, and that over the centuries, even before the incarnation, souls grappled with the essential problem. One can't but be aware of that if one studies the classics, those great works in Greek and Latin that were the staple diet of the West way back. And I remember coming across interesting passages such as the visit of Socrates to Delphi to consult the Delphic oracle. And he asks the oracle, who is the one who knows most on earth? Socrates was looking around all over the place for truth. And what was his puzzlement when the answer came back? Socrates is the person who knows most on earth. Oh, why is that? And the answer came back, because Socrates is the only person on earth who knows that he knows nothing. And so he was in the situation of tabula rasa, just wanting more, not pushing away further truth because he had it already. And that also can be our problem. It was called the elenchic method, that is asking questions, elenchein. And so he tried all these categories of men to find where truth was. And these ancient philosophers were able to get as far as hotheos, the God, a prime mover. Because truth does lead to seeing things with the logic of the mind, which we haven't lost entirely from our creation. We are still able to detect the truth. So this initially pagan man of goodwill, born in the area of the old Sikhem where the well was, Jacob's well, where the Lord sat, talking to a Samaritan, that was the place of origin of this Justin, born of pagan parents and well educated, but wanting the truth. So he followed a philosophical career and wore the garb of a philosopher. But something happened on the way. Providence led him to Ephesus, where he met a wise old man. And he had the humility to know that this wise old man might be wiser than he. And so he listened. He was told, "You are a lover of beautiful speech, but you are certainly not a friend of action or of truth." And he was advised to read the scriptures. Now, the scriptures meant the Old Testament at that stage. The New Testament is only just coming into being as we know it in these early years. And he did. And he found the wisdom of monotheism. And it led to the fullness of truth in the Logos. Notice the profound language of John, written after a life of meditation, using concepts which are universal, fundamental truth. He wrote things of which 3 things only, alas, have remained, but they are important. 2 apologies. One was actually to the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, philosopher king, and one dialogue with the Jew Trypho. We studied him in theology for his witness value, because he's one of the very few who give an early indication of what happened in the worship of Christians, both in baptism and in the Eucharist. And we find that essentially the structure is already there as we have it. He eventually finds his way to Rome and is martyred, along with 5 men and 1 woman. And we have the dialogue between Rusticus and himself. He speaks on behalf of the others and is well able to hold forth and to hold his own. And so it becomes a genuine dialogue even in the courtroom. And Rusticus is trying to tease out what he thinks about the beyond. And then eventually realizing that he's gone astray from what he's there for, he says, let us get to the point. Will you sacrifice to the gods? Of course, Christians were regarded as people who were not helpful to the state, because the protection of the state was being lost through their taking away the honour given to the gods of the state. Of course, he won't, and he indicates how bizarre it would be to turn away from the truth to a perversion. And he holds his ground. He's threatened with scourging and decapitation, and they receive both. With regard to our defence of the truth, like Justin, we should never raise our voice. It's enough to just point to. This afternoon I was picking up words I'd written years ago in France in response to a poet who was taking the mickey out of the Carthusians as he saw them in a picture. And way back, that picture, that poem, had hit me in school days. What if the Carthusians have it right and the philosophers have it terribly wrong? One of their own, actually, in France put it this way. It was the great philosopher Blaise Pascal. Before eternity, one can't be absolutely sure in philosophical terms, but one must do something. And his solution was this: given the amount to lose in terms of eternity, if one makes the wrong option, the wisest thing to do, even humanly, is to make a gamble. To gamble that it's true, and to put everything in it. At least with that one has not anything to lose. The other side might have a long, long time to regret an unwise gamble.